The press room he swore was shut down. The calendar square arrived at 6:05 p.m., neat as a column inch. Media Guild Gala, Tribune Building late. 2 minutes later, Calder texted, "Don't wait up. Facilities want me to peek at the old presses after speeches. Proud of me." Read he spends the heart when the rest of the sentence wants a press pass it hasn't earned. I turned the chili to the kind of simmer that calls itself maturity and looked out at the river. The Tribune's brick tower shouldered the dusk like an old argument that still wins primaries. The square on my phone pulsed once and then behaved. I rinsed an already clean spoon because sometimes unnecessary is the only honest verb left. At 6:27 my phone buzzed with a number I didn't recognize and a message that recognized me anyway. If the gala, on the mez, why did he just badge the freight elevator to the press room? Alley door off Lyon Street. Reader hates witnesses, cover it, then pull. I can hold the sweep 2 minutes. Signed with a single letter, H, as if the alphabet had leaned on a pallet jack and promised not to squeal. Hale runs nights at the Tribune with the steadiness of a man who convinces machines not to take things personally. He and Calder trade competence in a dialect of maintenance and donors. He and I have shared 2 cigarettes beside the ink drums where the floor smells like permanent decisions, and once we laughed so hard a ceiling camera tried to learn timing. We have not touched. I remember not touching more clearly than most men remember vows. "Why tell me?" I wrote. "Because your calendar is polite and my badge logs aren't," he sent back. Because he looked up before he swiped. People only look up there when they want oxygen. Because shut down is keep out the way champagne is hydration. Lyon Street wears its dumpsters like embarrassed jewelry. The alley door's red eye blinked into reason after I covered it with my palm and pulled. The bar unlaced its temper. The freight elevator arrived with a sigh learned from big rooms. As it carried me down, the air changed from lobby perfume to ink and iron, the kind of smell that knows how to take a stain. The press room is a cathedral for loud certainty. Rows of towers reach upward, chrome rollers stacked like the vertebrae of a steel animal someone taught to eat headlines. Everything important is bolted to the floor. A percussion of cooling fans insisted on the present tense. Over by the control console, jacket off and shirt open, one button past credible, tie folded into his pocket like a plausible denial, stood Calder. Opposite him rested Emmer Voss, developer, board vice chair, a roomer with a portfolio, and an opinion about what cities owe their mirrors. Emmer's 2 fingers touched the console with an entitlement that believed in itself. His hand hovered near Calder's wrist without landing, because proximity photographs better than contact when your brand buys institutions and invoices discretion. "Shutdown looks chatty," I said. Calder turned. For a beat, truth used his face like a front page before the editor arrives. Then the public version of him showed up with posture and lighting he didn't earn tonight. "Dane," he said. How did?" "Hale likes nouns," I said. "I like doors." Emmer smiled with a mouth that had practiced philanthropy. "We were reviewing safety," he said. "Patrons enjoy believing the beast can wake on command." "I prefer waking that doesn't require a photographer," I said. Calder took 1 step toward me and let the steel grate keep the second. "We were listening for chatter in the roller bearings," he said. He wanted to hear the room without speeches. "Sound is persuasive," Emmer said, lifting both hands like tasteful parentheses. 2 minutes. The sweep is punctual, so am I." He drifted toward the reel stands as if the paper on its spindle had an autograph he was owed. As he passed, 2 fingers tapped Calder's shoulder, punctuation, not possession. The panel lights flickered in the patient key of ulterior motives. Calder watched me the way men watch weather when they hope lightning has mercy. "I was going to text you," he said, lower now, using the register he keeps for mornings and the soft under my jaw. "After. I wanted to know I could leave this room without letting it tell me who I am." "You wanted to be caught," I said. "Not punished, caught." He let out a breath that knew how to become ink. "Yes. There is a decibel at which grammar resigns." I closed the space and put my mouth on his, because steel deserves an honest witness and old rooms deserve a new truth once in a while. He kissed back with the relief of a man who has been paying interest on restraint, compounding nightly under fluorescent lights. He tasted like Gala bourbon and printer's oil, a little sweet, a little bitter machine air polishing the edges. My thumb found the hinge of his jaw and pressed. He made the small, involuntary sound I keep receipts for. His palm slid under my shirt and settled flat between my shoulder blades like a promise that refuses notarization. We didn't undress. The press intends to remember, and cameras learn quickly. He broke the kiss first because he knows the exact second heat applies for narrative. He leaned his forehead against mine. Somewhere a blower coughed its disapproval like an old editor. "I didn't kiss him," he said. "I wanted to want to. I texted Hale." "You did," I said. "He prefers oxygen to salvage." From the reel rack, Emmer tilted his head with the tidy curiosity of a man who believes walls confer permission. He didn't approach. The pressroom practiced indifference. "Come home," Calder said. "After I thank the person who trusts bearings more than alibis," I said. Hale waited by the ink vault with a lanyard looped around 2 fingers and the kind of stillness that convinces motors to try again. He didn't smile. He also didn't make mercy expensive. "Sweep hits the floor in 90, he said. "If you don't want to rehearse your full names for a flashlight, cut behind the folder through the plate racks, up the catwalk to circulation, and out by the loading ramp. The ramp cam believes every pallet is a pallet." "You sent the message," I said. "I opened a door," he said. "You two remembered how to walk." The path through the plate racks smelled like aluminum teaching itself to listen. On the catwalk, the press looked less like a machine and more like a landscape you could be wrong about. We came up into circulation where carts of bundled papers waited like sleeping arguments. The loading ramp led us back into night, a good honest dark with rain reconsidering its schedule. We took sidewalks over lobbies. Sidewalks don't write captions. In our kitchen, the chili forgave me for confusing patience with character. We ate standing, the ancient mammal way. He told me Emmer had been sculpting a compliment into a proposition for a month, and he had helped because selection feels like love when usefulness empties your pockets. I told him Hale had texted because some men choose air over alibi. He didn't ask whether Hale and I had ever been a worse idea. I didn't say how the blue glow from a status panel turns Hale's mouth into punctuation that finally knows its job. We didn't fight. There wasn't theater left to sell. Later, in bed, we left a sliver of cool like a reservation and then let it surrender because the night had already billed us for restraint. He kissed me with the steadiness I trust more than policy. I put my mouth where his jaw goes humble and told it a morning. It was heat without spectacle. The building minded its radiators. Across the river, the Tribune practiced forgetting names and we encouraged it. Morning behaved. Coffee made its case. Sunlight laid rectangles on the table like invoices we didn't mind paying. The calendar square for tonight stayed blank, which in this city is the kink we can afford. Calder tied a tie over a throat I intend to retire with patience and kissed me like the door already knew our names. He left to explain continuity to a breakfast that confuses tradition with power. At 9:14, a text arrived from a number saved as one letter. No press cam saw anything but rollers. I looped a bearing diagnostic for 20. Consider it training. I sent, you're very proud of your training. He replied, I'm proud of your exit. No punctuation correct. By noon, a media blog posted a photo of Emmer standing beneath the Tribune masthead with a caption about stewardship and community. I scrolled past. It wasn't our room. At 1:30, one Calder sent a picture of our kitchen table with the plant we keep refusing to let die basking in a responsible square of sun. Room exists, he wrote. The week pretended to be a printer's schedule, precise, inked, allergic to improvisation. Emmer sent a revised pledge with fewer adjectives and more commas. Calder read to the part where the commas started to feel like a harness and set the paper face down. He pressed his forehead against my temple for a quiet 7 count and let air get back to work. 2 nights later, the Tribune hosted Night in the Pressroom, honest wristbands, real families, kids learning that ink is not the same as truth and rollers are honest only about friction. We went together, because sometimes the correct grammar is plural. Hale nodded once from a mezzanine like an usher who had already chosen a side. Emmer shook Calder's hand while a photographer taught stainless steel to glow. A reporter asked about legacy. Calder pointed toward a pressman kneeling to show a child how to check paper tension without tearing and said, "Legacy is what keeps rooms gentle." And the reporter wrote it down like she'd earned a truth. On the way home, we cut through the underpass where rain makes its own editorials. Calder slid 2 fingers into my back pocket in the way that says not mine but here, and the night took the hint. We burned the toast and ate it anyway. At the bedroom door, he kissed me the way good sentences land, without ornament, unavoidable. I answered like verbs were the last honest currency. It did not stay tidy. It never does here. An anonymous account posted a grainy still from a mezzanine camera, 2 silhouettes near the console, one hand too near to be polite. The caption invented entanglement, the comments rented outrage and charged by the breath. I put my phone face down beside the plant and watched the plant win. Calder texted a different image. Pressroom at noon. Hale showing a teen volunteer how to oil a chain while a vibration graph confessed contentment. Our version works for a living, he wrote. Sunday unfolded like a late edition, noisy, necessary. Hale texted, floor is quiet. Want a stool where nobody sells you a seat? We went. He poured us paper cups of coffee that tasted like competence and showed us which clutch lies first, why you never trust a door that apologizes, and the small change in pitch that means a roller is about to tell the truth. He didn't flirt with anything, not even the truth. He stood with his hands in his jacket pockets and told us a joke about rich men who think circulation is a metaphor. I liked him better for refusing to be necessary when he didn't need to be. Midweek, the foundation staged a press event to announce apprenticeship money for the shop. Calder spoke first, about bolts and volunteers and the joy of maintenance, the only speech that ages correctly. Emmer promised to help the city meet its morning on time, a sentence that managed to spend nothing and still collect applause. After, he shook Calder's hand and then looked at me with the careful respect of a man evaluating whether he cannot purchase. You're both very good at exits, he said. Practice, I said. He laughed because it was the only honest thing left on his card. A columnist with an adjective habit suggested Calder's access came courtesy of private tour. The piece included a photo of rollers that could have been any rollers and a paragraph that could have been any rumor. The comments did their choreography. I took the plant to the sink and let water talk to its roots like a promise we could keep. That night, we turned our phones face down and cooked like people who still believe heat tells the truth. On a wet Thursday, Hale sent a single word, weather, and we met him by the loading dock where rain argued with steel. He showed us which drain floods first, where to stand when lightning auditions near big metal, and how to hear the faint hesitation that means a drive will miss its cue without kindness. He didn't ask about the photo. We didn't say his name out loud. 3 people wide under a corrugated breath, we let the storm remove adjectives we didn't need. Life kept being itself, unbuyable, specific. Emmer kept sending commas that wanted homes. Calder kept returning them with better ones. The plant kept inventing a shade of green that turns vanity domestic. We kept our calendar squares blank on purpose because blanks are the only promises rooms respect. Sometimes, near midnight, we walk past the Tribune and look through the high windows. From the street you can't see the console or the rollers, only a clean, indifferent glow pretending to be modest. That's as it should be. We circle the block and go home without letting the building perform at us. He takes my wrist like a man reteaching himself the grammar of doors. I think about the press room and the 2 minutes that were enough, about how some rooms try to own you and others teach you how to leave correctly. Sometimes I think about Emmer paused by the real stand like a man who wants to buy air and discovering it doesn't invoice. Sometimes I think about Hale's line, "I opened a door," and how it's the only biography I want for this version of us. Tonight's square is empty. We're leaving it that way. Let the Tribune keep its speeches and the city its applause. We have the ramp door, a plant we refuse to let die, and the quiet grammar of a decision that knows where it belongs. Not in the rumor, not in the photo, but in the mouth that learned to say come home and mean it. If we get caught again, let it be by each other. The rest of the world can rehearse headlines. We'll be in the room that doesn't need them, counting breaths until they sound like a well-tuned press at idle, and a morning we can afford, and calling that enough.